Much has been said concerning Pennsylvania's current budget impasse. Since I've been asked a lot of questions about the budget standoff, I've made this brief video to give a better insight into what is happening in Harrisburg. In the spring, Governor Tom Wolf presented a budget in excess of $33 billion, making it the largest budget in the history of our Commonwealth. Education proved to be the governor's greatest priority, which comports with his own campaign promises from last year. Governor Wolf's plan includes a $1 billion increase in spending for education, with half of that amount going to K-12 programs and schools. The lion's share, $400 million, would be passed on to the state's 500 school districts through the existing basic education funding formula, with the remaining $100 million funding special education. The governor's spending proposal is paid for through a series of new and expanded taxes. Most notably, Governor Wolf is proposing an increase in both income and sales taxes. The new sales tax would also apply to a greatly expanded list of items and services ranging from over-the-counter medications and diapers to child care, nursing home care, and college room and board. All of these new taxes would apply to everyone, regardless of income. In addition, the governor seeks to enact a two-part severance tax on natural gas companies operating in Pennsylvania. In a nod to various constituencies, the governor has proposed some reductions in taxes as well. Pennsylvania's corporate net income tax, the highest in the nation, would be reduced, but out-of-state earnings would be compiled into that calculation, thereby making more of a business's earnings subject to tax. Also, Governor Wolf is calling for a reduction in school property taxes, which would average 50%, although the exact amount property owners in each school district would receive varies greatly. Higher wealth districts would receive only a small reduction in property taxes, whereas those in some impoverished school districts would have their school taxes entirely eliminated. In addition, the governor seeks to impose an increase in the minimum wage from $7.50 to $10.10. Needless to say, the governor's record-spending proposition received no support from the majorities in the House and Senate. Somewhat interestingly, the budget proposal was never even submitted for a vote by members of the governor's own party. In early June, a Republican member of the House raised the governor's tax proposal for a vote, but the proposal failed unanimously. Democrats claimed a parliamentary technicality for their refusal to vote with the governor, based on the fact that they were not permitted to debate the issue in an earlier committee meeting. But the strategy was seen by most as an easy way not to vote for the historic and potentially unpopular increase in taxes requested by the governor. In June, the House and Senate took up their own budget proposal, which would have funded government agencies at or above their current levels, with K-12 education receiving a $100 million increase. In addition, the House and Senate measures would have privatized the state's liquor stores and placed all newly hired state employees and teachers in a hybrid 401k-type retirement plan rather than the current state pension program. The House and Senate versions did not increase taxes, impose taxes on any additional items, or enact a severance tax on natural gas. This budget passed the House and Senate on June 30th and was vetoed in its entirety by Governor Wolf nearly an hour later. The last time a governor vetoed a budget in its entirety was 40 years ago. Since the end of June, the leaders of the House and Senate have met repeatedly with Governor Wolf and his staff, but no appreciable progress has been made to resolving the budget impasse. Now that is a summary of what has happened regarding the budget. Now let me explain my own thoughts regarding the governor's proposal so that you may understand why I oppose it. Governor Wolf seeks to increase income taxes to 3.7%. An income tax comes straight from the wages that you receive. In an era when Pennsylvania is hemorrhaging young working-age people, increasing the tax that most impacts them strikes me as short-sighted and harmful to our future. The governor's proposed sales tax of 6.6% would make Pennsylvania's sales tax higher than all surrounding states except for New Jersey, which is not a state we should seek to emulate. Since my district shares a border with Maryland, having a higher sales tax than our neighbor is particularly concerning. In addition, sales tax is fundamentally regressive. Rich and poor pay it equally, so the increase will have a disproportionate impact on the poor, who are also the least able to travel to other states to make major purchases. Expansion of the sales tax to include so many additional items is also concerning. Based on the average cost of child care, families would be asked to pay an additional $500 in taxes. If you have a child in diapers, get ready to pay $57 more. For those with family members in nursing homes, expect to pay an additional $7,000 in taxes each year. Those are large numbers for families to absorb. As to a severance tax on natural gas, the governor's proposal would give Pennsylvania the ignominious distinction of having the nation's highest effective rate for gas extraction. Although Pennsylvania has large reserves of gas, so do many other states. Gas drillers will vote with their feet and take their business elsewhere, as it is easy and inexpensive for them to do so. In addition to losing the prospective revenue from gas, Pennsylvania would lose the crucial benefit that gas has to offer as the only real means of reigniting our flagging industrial sector. Coal provided Pennsylvania with 100 years of prosperity because it was an inexpensive energy source that Pennsylvania manufacturers could use. Natural gas can do the same, making Pennsylvania manufacturing competitive on the global market once again. We shouldn't kill this resource with a crippling tax just when it is beginning to provide benefits to us. With specific regard to education funding, it is worthy to note that Pennsylvania already spends more than 4 out of 5 states. That is nearly $14,000 for every student. That spending level is not equal in every school district, as the state and local districts share the expense of education funding. Herein lies the problem. Pennsylvania's state portion is based upon the number of students each school had in 1990. Although many schools have grown since that time, including most of Franklin County's schools, many more have lost students. This shift in population has allowed the state funding formula to benefit some school districts at the expense of others, effectively paying them for students they no longer have. This policy is commonly referred to as hold harmless, but it has greatly harmed most of the schools in Franklin County. In addition to the school funding inequity, Pennsylvania schools also labor under over 1,000 separate government mandates, each consuming administrative time. Finally, a significant and growing amount of each school district's budget is dedicated to fund pensions for retired employees. Pennsylvania has an unfunded pension obligation of $54 billion. The pension reform bill that the governor vetoed would not have paid the debt, but it would have helped kept it from getting worse. Without doing something to address this crisis, Pennsylvania schools will bleed an ever-increasing amount of their finances to this problem. By acknowledging that Pennsylvanians already fund schools more generously than all but a few other states, we need to recognize that our school funding problems are more a matter of how we fund schools rather than how much more we should spend. Governor Wolf only exacerbates this problem by throwing more money, significantly more money, into an already broken system. Just to illustrate this point, the governor's spending proposal would provide Philadelphia with 33% of the additional funding he allots to the entire state, despite the fact that the city has only 13% of Pennsylvania's students. That is a gross inequity of school funding. Finally, Governor Wolf's property tax reduction proposal creates severely unequal results. Property owners in Franklin County will receive between 15% and 30% in school tax reductions, whereas Philadelphia property owners will see their school property taxes eliminated entirely. When all of the new taxes are taken as a whole, families in Franklin County are projected to pay, on average, an additional $1,400 in taxes than they did last year, despite the governor's proposed property tax relief plan. I am hopeful this impasse will eventually break and that a reasoned compromise can be reached which will allow the governor to obtain some of his objectives while respecting the right of Pennsylvanians and Pennsylvania industry to be free from additional burdensome taxes. I will continue to keep you updated on the budget negotiations, and I invite you to contact me to discuss your own thoughts and opinions on the state's budget.